Alright, so we're here checking out some of the proportions and connections of parts for your 3D model, your biped character. There are a few things that we'll want to work on before getting too far. Okay. First, I'm just going to start with just a general proportion thing. Now, it takes kind of a while to develop an eye for this sort of thing, but if you, take a look at some references of people and so on, based on the size of your torso here and the thighs as well, your calves are actually just a little bit short, alright? So it definitely grab some verts in this area and pull this down a bit, alright? Of course, if I pull one edge loop down, I'm going to pull down others as well to keep that spacing nice and even, alright? But you're just going to want that calf section to be just a little bit longer than it was previously, alright? So just go through and give that a little more length. It's going to look a little bit more natural for you in the end there, alright? Next thing we'll look at some of the shaping around the hips and where it's connecting with the thighs, okay? So first of all, we've got kind of this really severe V shape going on right here, okay, where it's just dipping and then suddenly changing direction. Generally, we want to avoid any areas where we have sudden changes in direction, alright? So we want to keep things mostly along smooth curved lines, alright, for any kind of organic object. Of course, if this was like a machine or something, it might be totally fine to have lots of hard pointy edges, but as I said, for an organic object, we want to keep things, fairly smooth. So you'll want to come in and just kind of smooth out the curves in this area so that they're not quite so dramatically pointy. Alright. No pointy areas. Now, another thing that you might notice is that we've got kind of this nice swooping curve going on right here, leading into the hip area, alright? And then as we start off the leg here, we go straight to this perfectly horizontal line, okay? And generally, anytime that we're going to change the flow of the geometry like that, we want to do it gradually. So we don't want to, come from a curve that's this big swooping curve and then the next thing down just be perfectly flat. We'll want to kind of ease into that flattened out shape. So I'm actually going to bring these up quite a bit, alright, so that they are sort of mimicking this curve above them, but also just flattening out a little bit so that we can start to pull this curved shape down into a more horizontal shape like we have below, okay? And I'm only working on one side of the model right now. That's just to kind of save time. Since it's basically a symmetrical model, we don't need to go through and do things on both sides when we can really just fix problems and errors on one side and then just go ahead and delete the other side and remirror it, okay? So, you don't have to worry about trying to get everything done twice, alright? I'm going to move that in a little bit as well. So really when you're modeling like this, it's just all about following curves and creating nice smooth shapes, alright? So we've moved those up a little bit. I might even move these up slightly. Again, we're just kind of gradually getting into this horizontal kind of edge loop that we've got going on down here. So, you know, this one might curve a bit as well, like the one above it, but a little less so. Okay, as we lead into making things more horizontal as we're coming down through the leg. And this is just going to be a lot of adjusting individual verts. You can grab a few at a time as well if you find that's a little faster for you. Make sure that if you are marquee selecting like that, just grabbing a whole bunch at once, that you don't accidentally select anything you don't want, or that you just double check what your selections are. Okay, so something like that. So now you can see it's kind of alleviated. You know, if we look at this side, it's just kind of this curve, and then all of a sudden it is just totally horizontal, just very kind of blocky looking. And here we have more of a smooth flow into the shape of the leg. Okay, so it's just kind of flowing into that shape a little more naturally. All right. And here as well, we'll want to kind of take a look at things, trying to maintain those smooth curves wherever we can. If we follow this edge loop back, kind of comes up here and then swoops down and back up again. So we've got kind of a lot of zigzagging. Another thing that you want to watch out for is when you're looking at the size of faces that are next to one another, we want to keep that spacing fairly even most of the time. All right. So we don't want any larger polygons, usually sitting next to little tiny skinny ones. We want to keep the shapes roughly of the same size when they're right next to one another like that. Okay. So really we just want to kind of come in and deal with some of the spacing so that we have polygons next to one another that are roughly the same size as their neighbors, okay? And it's gonna help improve the flow and shape of your model quite a bit. So this is going to turn out a little bit better than our other side here. All right, so that looks fine. Another thing right here, looks like probably when you did your mirror, your threshold may have been set a little too high, okay? So what's happened here is that these lines previously went across like this, and when they were mirrored over, the two verts were close enough to one another that they actually merged together, okay, into this a little crisscross kind of pattern, okay. So, I mean, you know, that's not too big a deal in that it's easy to fix. We'll go ahead and fix it right now. So just watch out for that when you are using your mirror tool. Make sure that you're checking for pinching along the center line like this, because we don't want any of that. Alright, so let's go ahead and fix this. I'm going to go ahead and go up to Edit Mesh Interactive Split Tool. I'm just going to grab this corner and bring it across over to here, and enter to complete the tool. And I'm going to use it one more time, right there, and hit enter to complete that. And then I'm just going to get rid of these crisscrossing lines. So I'm just going to go to Edge Mode, grab these edges that I don't want, and it's very important that I don't just delete these using the delete key, because if I do, I'll go ahead and show you what happens. I have deleted those edges, but the vertex that was in the center of those edges is still there. I haven't actually gotten rid of that vertex, okay, which will cause all kinds of problems for you later on. So it's very important that instead of just hitting the delete key, we come up to edit mesh and we use our delete edge / vertex tool. All right, this is going to get rid of not only the edges, but also any vertices that are attached to those edges. All right, so now you can see this is one continuous edge and there's no vertex splitting it down the middle. All right, so that takes care of that. One thing I'd take a look at here in this area is that we've got this edge loop down here. You know, it's nicely shaped, it's looking good, it's nice and round, but again, it's just a spacing issue of having these really large rectangular shaped polygons up here and these little square ones down here, and it's, you know, a little too spread out. So I might bring that up, and of course I might also bring up the one beneath it to just kind of even out that spacing a little bit. Alright, or alternatively, you know, if you're really happy with where these are and you don't want to move them, and oops, I went back a little too far. Let me get rid of these guys again. But yeah, if you're happy with where those are, you don't want to change them, you like the spacing, you might also just elect to add another edge loop up here to improve that spacing. So we could just go to Insert Edge Loop Tool, throw one in there. Now it's important whenever you add geometry like that, not to just put it in there and leave it, because at the moment it's not affecting the shape of our model at all. Okay, it just looks prettier, but anytime that we add geometry like that, we want to make sure that we're using it to help us define the shape a little better. So in this case, I might just bring it in a little bit to help kind of facilitate that curve that we're trying to get. All right, help the shaping there. Just make sure you do something with it if you add it in there. Don't just leave it like it is. Okay. This as well is a little bit pointy, okay, up here in this area where we've got kind of this definition of the chest area. We've got some pretty sharp edges going on, alright? So, for example, this edge right here that's going along is perfectly straight, okay? So this is kind of an example of having this edge loop here that we're not really using to help improve our shape. Okay, so what I would do with this is go along this edge loop that we have and actually use it to define our shape somehow, because right now we've just got these flat lines and things are looking about the same as they might if this edge loop was not even here. So, you know, for example, I'll just grab the one on this side, and we'll delete it. And you can see it hasn't actually changed the shape very much, or, you know, indeed, probably not at all, just by deleting it. So that's just an indication that we've got this edge loop and we're not really taking advantage of it. And there's no reason to have extra geometry in your model if you're not using it to help improve the shape in some way. Okay, so go through, take some time, and really take a closer look at this edge loop. All right. Another thing you might notice is that we kind of have a lot of zigzaggy lines going on here as well. All right. So, you know, we've kind of got things settled with this edge loop a little bit so that we've got kind of a smooth curve going on that you can kind of see swooping down this way, and then it just kind of flattens out totally. All right. So we want to continue these curved lines in a way that feels natural. All right. So any sharp edges or something we just don't want. So we'll want it to kind of swoop into this shape. All right. So we're going to be rounding things out quite a bit. I'll pull this up as well. So, again, it's just all about getting sloping, curved lines wherever we can. Down here as well, we don't want this to just be perfectly flat line. We might want it to be something like that, or so, okay? And then up here as well, we've got this kind of dramatic change in direction where we're swooping down this way, and then it's just all of a sudden going up at a rather severe angle. So again, we just want to follow this curve throughout the model, alright? So we'll bring that down. It's curving this way. And here as well, we've got this curve, and then it's kind of swooping upwards and going back down and up, creating kind of a zigzag effect. So to avoid that, we'll deal with that as well. Okay, so the curves look a lot better from this angle, but even if you're happy with something that you've done in one angle, be sure always to look at it from multiple angles, okay? Because it might look really nice this way, and then you turn it to the side and shaping has gone a little crazy. All right, so for example here, we can see it's kind of dipping in at this point and becoming pretty flat. So make sure you're looking at it lots of different ways and making adjustments to these curves based on lots of different angles, all right? Things should be flowing in nice, smooth curving lines, no matter which way you're looking at the model. It's very important to come around and kind of adjust things to keep those smooth lines going, all right? It's really going to help improve your overall shape. Also, look at it from the top. You can see here where I've got kind of this little pointy line. So that's something I want to adjust. All right. And, once you've looked at this many times from many different directions, it's going to start to look really nice. Okay, so we've smoothed that out a little bit. Being nitpicky here and smoothing it out a little more. But you get the idea there. Also here we have our transition to the arm, okay? Which actually looks pretty good. You've done a pretty good job on the arm here, but again, we kind of have that issue of this sort of curved area, and there's sort of a large blocky area here, and then it goes to perfectly vertical edge loops, alright? So you may want to take the time to kind of lead into these perfectly vertical edge loops by giving these just a little bit of an angle to kind of mirror what's going on with this side of the arm here, with the shoulder and where it's meeting. And you may want to pull these out just a little bit too, so you don't have so much of a spacing difference on either side. Of course, you'll go all the way around the arm, looking at it from lots of different angles. And just pulling things out and forward. So that's going to help that arm transition just a little bit. Couple more things, just right here. in the neck area. Looks like we've had some more merging of vertices that were close to one another. Okay, we don't want that. So let's go ahead and fix that as well. I'm just going to come up to Edit Mesh Interactive Split tool. I'm going to use it to just bring these edges back down. Okay. It's going to look a little funny at first. And once I've done that, I can just grab these edges that were merged together, okay, these guys. Come up to my Edit Mesh, Delete Edge Vertex tool. That gets rid of those. And now we're back to something looking a little more like what we wanted. And it's happened on the front here as well, so again, you'll want to go through and deal with these guys with our Interactive Split tool. And then grab the edges that we no longer want. Come up to Edit Mesh, Delete Edge Vertex. Okay. That's going to fix the flow on those. Now, after I did that, you might notice that many of these edges are sort of going every which way. They're slanting, and they're at crazy angles. So it's a really good idea to come in here and grab some of these verts, okay? You can just grab 2 verts that are along this same edge here. And you can actually use your scale tool and just scale this in one direction, all right? And it'll bring those back into a perfectly vertical line, okay? So I'm gonna go through and grab a few of these and bring them back to vertical since they're at some crazy angles at the moment. And they also may be sticking out from other directions as well, so you'll want to bring them in that way. It can help actually to look at this from the top as well while you're doing this. So if you grab a couple of these, for example, you can use your scale tool in 2 directions here to bring things back into line with one another. Be careful when you're doing this that you're not accidentally grabbing other things, okay? Make sure you're not accidentally grabbing vertices that are, you know, down throughout your model in the leg or underneath there. Just be very careful that you're only grabbing the neck verts, okay? Just be aware of that. So I've only done one side because, you know, again, you'll really only need to work on one side and then just mirror things over again. You can see now that our neck verts are looking a lot smoother, and then you can just kind of grab them from above here. And shape them in this way, okay, so that you get that nice round neck opening that you want. Now, I would say that this is actually a little bit too oval shaped for your neck opening. So I would actually grab some of these neck vertices and really just round them out. It's gonna get a little complicated right there. lines, I might just pull them out this way a little bit, and then just move it back to the center line, alright, to create more of a round shape on one side. And then also make sure you address little areas where the shape's not really feeling very rounded. For example, right here, you can see we've got this nice round curve, and then it just kind of becomes pretty flat at this area and then continues in a round sort of way. So make sure you look out for that, adjust those kind of things. And again, just looking at all of your edge loops from a lot of different angles and eliminating any areas that seem pointy in any way. Okay, so that's kind of just working with one half of the model at a time, but you know, everything else looks really great. Just you know, really go in there and take a look at some of those areas. And I think you haven't really had a chance to deal with the hand as of yet, so I'm not gonna worry about the hand for now. But that's it for this critique, and let me know if you have any questions about anything that we went over in the video today. And happy modeling!